So, here's a question for you. Have you ever heard of a festival that doesn't celebrate a birth or a wedding or a victory, but instead joyfully celebrates a philosopher's departure from the world? It sounds kind of strange, right? But every year, in a place called Udupi in India, that is exactly what happens. Let's dive into this amazing story.
And look, this festival, Madhva Navami, is not some small, quiet gathering. It is a massive, vibrant celebration. Just try to picture it. The air is thick with these powerful, rhythmic chants. Thousands of people are being fed, and the temples are just covered in these incredible, intricate decorations. It's a huge emotional event, and it's all to honor a profound spiritual legacy.
But this is where we get to the heart of the mystery. The old texts don't talk about a death. They talk about a disappearance, a final journey to a sacred, holy site. So why? Why is this departure, this final act, the focus of so much joy and devotion? Well, to get that, we need to understand the man himself and the truly revolutionary ideas he brought to the world.
The man at the center of all this is Śrī Madhvācārya. His philosophy is the engine, the powerhouse that's kept this tradition going for more than 700 years.
Here he is. This is Śrī Madhvācārya, a philosopher from the 13th century who founded a whole school of thought called Dvaita Vedānta. And his ideas, well, they would go on to challenge the biggest philosophical ideas of his day. He offered a completely new way to think about reality, about God, and, our place in this whole cosmos.
So let's just get our bearings in history for a second. He was born in 1238 near Udupi, and he lived this long, incredibly influential life. But the key moment for our story, the one we really care about, happens in 1317. At 79 years old, he began his final journey. That is the disappearance that Madhva Navami celebrates. So what were these ideas? What did he say that was so powerful it created this incredible, lasting legacy? Well, it all boils down to his view of reality itself, a view that was radical for his time.
Madhvācārya actually called his philosophy Tattvavada. That literally translates to the philosophy of reality. And the name alone tells you so much, doesn't it? It shows his clear goal, to understand the world and our existence as it really is, using logic, scripture, and even direct experience. Now, the absolute core of Tattvavada is dualism. And you have to understand, this was a massive departure from the other big philosophies in India at the time. He wasn't just tinkering with an old idea. He was proposing a totally different structure for how reality works. To really get it, let's put the two main views side by side. The dominant non-dualist view, Dvaita Vedānta, basically said that you, your soul, and the Supreme Being, God, are ultimately the same thing. But Madhvācārya came along and argued for Dvaita, or dualism. He said no, God and individual souls are forever real and, this is the crucial part, forever distinct. They are not the same and they never will be. To lay out this philosophy of reality, he created this really simple but totally profound framework. He said everything that exists, literally everything, can be sorted into two basic categories. Okay, so first there's Svatantra, the independent real. This group has only one member, God, totally self-sufficient, the source of everything. And then there's Paratantra, the dependent reals. And this is, well, it's everything else. You, me, the entire universe, even time itself. All of these things are real, they're not an illusion, but their existence completely depends on that one independent real. So the most important part of this whole thing is the relationship between the one independent reality and the many, many dependent ones. And to explain this, Madhvācārya used this absolutely beautiful and powerful analogy that really gets to the core of his philosophy. He called this relationship Bimba Pratibimba Bhava. I know, it's a mouthful, but Bimba just means the original, and Pratibimba means the reflection. And for him, this wasn't just some nice poetry, it was a really precise philosophical idea. So what does this actually mean? God is the Bimba, the original thing. And every single soul is a pratibimba, a reflection. Now think about a reflection in a mirror. It's real, right? You can see it. It has features. But it has absolutely no existence on its own without the original object it's reflecting. Its reality is totally derived, and that's the key. And this dependence isn't partial, it is total. According to Madhvācārya, the soul, the reflection, depends on God for its very being, for its ability to think and know, and even for its ability to do anything at all. It's a real, distinct thing, but it's locked in this constant, unbreakable relationship of dependence with its source. Okay, so let's pull all this back to where we started, that amazing festival, Madhva Navami. How does all this deep philosophy about originals and reflections lead to chanting and huge celebrations?
The connection is totally direct. The whole festival is basically a celebration of this worldview. It's this outpouring of devotion that comes from understanding that, yeah, every soul is real and unique, but it's also beautifully and completely dependent on a loving, supreme God. And this isn't seen as some kind of weakness, but as the very foundation for a joyful, devotional relationship.
And you can literally see this philosophy playing out in the rituals. All the chanting and recitations, that's the reflections, praising the original. The offerings, the feeding of thousands, those are all acts of love flowing from the dependent thing back to its source. These aren't just empty traditions. They are living, breathing expressions of that bimba-pratibimba-bhava relationship. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. You know, in a world that so often tells us that total independence is the ultimate goal, Madhvācārya's philosophy offers a really different way of looking at things. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, recognizing our ultimate dependence doesn't lead to weakness, but could be the very source of deep meaning, connection, and even ecstatic joy. It's a powerful idea, and it's one that's still lighting up the lives of the millions, 700 years after a great philosopher made his final journey.